Last fall, Todd Kohlhepp was arrested after a woman was found chained in a container on his property. She told police that her boyfriend had been killed and that this woman was next. She was Kohlhepp's girlfriend. And she tells our Megan Alexander not only did she not know she was dating a serial killer, it turns out she lent him the money he needed to buy that container.
On August 31, 2016, a woman went missing. She disappeared off the face of this planet, leaving South Carolina confused. While the police tried to solve this stubborn mystery for 2 long months, she was locked away in a cabin with no contact with the outside world. Nobody had expected her to survive, but then a miracle happened. She became one of the rarest survivors of an abduction. But was she ever the same again? Hi, and welcome back to Crime Case Files. We offer our condolences to Kayla and her family for the disturbing events they had to face at the hands of a brutal serial killer. Kayla was born on November 17, 1985, in Anderson, South Carolina, USA. Her full name is Kayla Victoria Brown, but that's about all the public knows of her. Her past is wrapped in mystery, and not much is known about her childhood, her family, or her schooling days. But it was in 2016 that Kayla's story hit the headlines. She vanished into thin air, along with her boyfriend, Charles David Carver. They had left their house together to do some work, but no one could have expected what would happen next. Brown was in a relationship with Carver, who had recently gone through a divorce. After a few months of seeing each other, the pair decided to move in together. They were struggling to make ends meet, and Kayla decided to take on a cleaning job at Todd Kohlhepp's residence. Todd was a real estate agent and owned a sizable 95-acre piece of land in rural South Carolina. Kayla had worked with his real estate business before, so had no reason to be suspicious when she and Charles were asked to clear underbrush on his property in Moore, South Carolina. But things took a horrifying turn during this particular visit. Kayla and Charles had just gone inside to grab some hedge clippers, ready to begin their work on the lawn. Suddenly, Todd emerged from the house, looking furious and wielding a gun. Without warning, he fired 3 shots into Charles's chest, fatally wounding him. With her boyfriend still struggling on the ground, Todd restrained Kayla by chaining her neck, feet, and hands, then forcibly moved her into a metal shipping container on his property. To keep his captive hidden, Todd had concealed the container behind some dense vegetation on his 95-acre estate in Woodruff. He even painted the container green so that it blended with the surroundings, making it nearly impossible for anyone passing by to spot it. Positioned on cinder blocks to prevent it from sinking into the ground, the container remained out of sight from passers-by on the nearby road. It measured 30 feet in length and 15 feet in width, and stood at a height of 10 to 12 feet. Nearby, he kept a shed with some necessary supplies to keep his captive fed and clothed. During her confinement, Todd would sometimes remove the chains that bound Kayla and would abuse her by forcing her into satisfying him under the constant threat of his gun. The relationship between Kayla Brown and Todd Kohlhepp deteriorated from a professional connection to an abusive one. Kayla came to understand that Todd was hoping she would develop Stockholm Syndrome, a psychological response in which victims bond with their captors, and he told her that he wanted her to develop affection for him. It was the only thing keeping her alive, but how long could she endure this nightmare? Brown remained in captivity for over 2 months in this state. Meanwhile, Charles's mother grew increasingly concerned that he hadn't contacted her for so long. She felt that it was out of character for him. Kayla's friend and mother also attempted to reach her, but couldn't get an answer for weeks. Kayla's mother had enough, and she took matters into her own hands. She visited her daughter's apartment and immediately noticed that her dog had been left without food or water, which was unusual since she loved him. By early September, Kayla was officially reported as a missing person to the police. Around this time, their circle of friends began to see weird posts on Charles's Facebook page, which claimed that he and Kayla had gotten married and bought a new home. The situation quickly came to the attention of the police, who suspected that someone had taken control of Carver's Facebook account. Further investigation led them to trace the IP address and it led them straight to Kohlhepp's residence. On November 3, 2016, local authorities executed a search warrant at his house. During their search of Kohlhepp's property, Carver's vehicle was discovered concealed in a ravine beneath dense foliage. They continued their search cautiously until they could hear distant noises from a nearby container. It was there that Kayla was found tied up like a dog by her captor. Deputies immediately took action to try and get her out, but discovered that she was chained by one ankle and had a chain around her neck too. Kayla was found wearing glasses and dressed in a black top, gray pants, and sandals. She had been hidden at the back of the container, behind shelves filled with various boxes and plastic containers. While in the process of using bolt cutters to free her, the deputies made a chilling discovery. They asked about her boyfriend, who had disappeared with her. A dazed Kayla revealed that Kohlhepp had shot Charlie 3 times in the chest. She recounted how she was forced to watch as he wrapped Carver's lifeless body in a blue tarp, loaded it into his tractor bucket, and took the body away into the night. After he came back, he locked Brown in the shipping container and subjected her to repeated assaults over the course of her abduction. She remained composed until a detective asked her about the day of her abduction, at which point she broke down in tears. Following the questioning, she revealed that Kohlhepp had murdered her boyfriend because of jealousy. It was during this ordeal that Kohlhepp boasted about his huge body count, claiming he had nearly 100 murders under his belt. He took pride in calling himself a serial killer and mass murderer. This new information transformed Kohlhepp's legal status from that of a kidnapper to a murderer. He was quickly apprehended after Brown was freed by law enforcement on November 3, 2016. The lifeless body of 32-year-old Charles Carver was also discovered on the same property. In the wake of Kohlhepp's arrest, 2 additional bodies were uncovered on his premises between November 6 and 7. These individuals were later identified as husband and wife Johnny Joe Coxey, age 29, and Megan Lee McCraw, Coxey, age 26. Both were residents of Spartanburg, who had been reported missing on December 22, 2015. It was revealed that they had been employed by Kohlhepp in the same way and were asked to perform tasks on his property. McCraw Coxey had met her tragic end through a gunshot wound to the head on either December 25th or 26th, while Coxey had been fatally shot in the torso a week earlier. Their identities were confirmed by the county coroner through the examination of their distinctive tattoos. A search of Kohlhepp's property revealed a huge cache of weaponry, which included 9mm pistols equipped with suppressors, semi-automatic rifles, and an undisclosed quantity of ammunition. There was no record of a background check conducted under Kohlhepp's name for the lawful acquisition of firearms, so investigators suspected that he likely obtained the firearms through illegal means. Shortly after his arrest, authorities in Spartanburg County stumbled upon a series of peculiar and seemingly satirical product reviews posted on Amazon. These reviews were on items like padlocks, shovels, tasers, and gun accessories, and they were under the name of a user nicknamed as Me. One of these reviews was about a padlock, on which he said, "Solid locks, have 5 on a shipping container, won't stop them, but sure will slow them down till they are too old to care." Another review focused on a folding shovel and read, "Keep in car for when you have to hide the bodies, and you left the full-size shovel at home." After his arrest, Kohlhepp confided to his mother that he had many other victims beyond those already known. When questioned about the number of additional victims, his cryptic response was that the police wouldn't have enough fingers to count. During the course of interrogations, he also claimed to have shot a victim in Arizona. As a result, on November 18, 2016, the Tempe Police Department began an investigation into Kohlhepp's claims, focusing on unsolved homicides dating back 3 decades. Their search spanned from the years 1983 to 1986, when Kohlhepp lived with his father, and the period between August 2001, following his release from a kidnapping conviction, to November 2001, when he relocated to South Carolina. On November 25, 2016, the Greer Police Department in South Carolina publicly identified Kohlhepp as a person of interest in an unsolved bank robbery and triple homicide in 2003 at the local Blue Ridge Savings Bank. This incident was different from the Chesney shootings, separated by 6 months. However, as of May 16, 2018, no conclusive link connecting Kohlhepp to the aforementioned killings had been established, and Kohlhepp himself denied any involvement in the case. In December 2017, he communicated with the Spartanburg Herald-Journal, claiming that he had more victims who remained undiscovered. While in custody, Kohlhepp disclosed information that significantly altered the course of his legal proceedings. He confessed not only to the murder of Charles Carver, but also to a quadruple homicide involving Beverly Guy, Brian Lucas, Scott Ponder, and Chris Sherbert, all of whom were fatally shot inside Superbike Motorsports in Chesney, South Carolina, in 2003. Kohlhepp gave these confessions in exchange for certain privileges, such as speaking with his mother, sharing a photograph with her, and transferring funds to a friend's child's college fund. During his interaction with his mother, he admitted to the killings and the abduction. In the case of the Chesney shootings, he gave specific details of the crimes that had never been disclosed publicly. On May 26, 2017, he pleaded guilty to a total of 7 counts of murder, 2 counts of kidnapping, and 1 count of criminal sexual assault. As a result, he received a sentence of 7 consecutive life terms without the possibility of parole. This plea arrangement ultimately spared him from the possibility of facing capital punishment. Kayla played a crucial role in the legal proceedings by providing her testimony against Kohlhepp. She revealed that her survival depended on her captor's interest in her. Kohlhepp was actually infatuated with her and would often praise her beauty and intelligence. It wasn't his intention to kill her. He only wanted to keep her captive, as disclosed by Kayla in an interview with Dr. Phil. According to her, Kohlhepp had killed Charles so he could have her undivided attention. In her struggle to stay alive and be rescued, Kayla took on a strategy of making Kohlhepp think that things were going how he wanted them to. She manipulated him and would even feign attraction to him so that he wouldn't abuse her. Kohlhepp confided in her that she had outlasted all his previous captives, supporting her belief that her approach was working and would get her out of there. It was later found that Todd had already dug a grave behind his house, possibly marking the fate he had in mind for Kayla had she not been rescued. In 2018, a judicial ruling found that Kayla had gone through actual damages amounting to over $1.5 million. She was granted punitive damages exceeding $4.7 million, totaling in an award nearing $6.3 million. This compensation was awarded after her initial claim sought $360 million, encompassing expenses for medical treatment, pain, and emotional distress, as well as the loss of quality of life. While Brown's precise whereabouts have remained undisclosed to the public, her life once again gathered considerable attention in 2019 due to a tragic incident involving her fiancé, Adam Mason. He tragically took his own life. In response to this loss, Brown released a public statement expressing her grief and the role Adam played in her life. She described Adam as a blessing and a source of happiness, particularly during the challenging period she had experienced. Later in 2019, Kayla faced charges of domestic violence following an altercation in her residence with her boyfriend, James Devon Moore. She faced a charge of third-degree criminal domestic violence and was released from custody the same day after posting a $2,000 personal recognizance bond, as documented in online court records. As indicated in the arrest warrant, the charge came from an incident in which Kayla struck her boyfriend in her apartment. The incident began when Moore had physically confronted her by thrusting his chest towards her while telling her to "make me." In response, Kayla delivered a closed-fist blow to Moore's face. The report further detailed that Moore had retaliated by forcefully forcing Kayla to the ground and placing her in a headlock. The assault transpired within her residence in Piedmont, resulting in the filing of a third-degree domestic violence charge against James Devon Moore as well. He was taken into custody and also released from the Greenville County Jail on a $2,000 personal recognizance bond. Advocate David Wyatt, who represented Kayla Brown, believed that the charges against her should be dismissed, emphasizing the challenges she was facing. In response to the incident, Jenny Dial, a spokesperson for Brown, delivered a message of reassurance, saying that all was now well. According to her statement, Kayla had stopped taking her medication for a while, and that led to her confrontation with her boyfriend. This dispute has since been resolved. According to the incident report, Brown informed law enforcement officers that she had cohabited with Moore for less than 2 weeks. She said their altercation began over the presence of an animal inside the house, and it eventually culminated in Brown requesting Moore to leave her house. She recounted to the deputies that she had nearly lost consciousness during the fight. Since those events, Kayla has moved on, entered a new relationship, and is now a mother. She remains committed to protecting the privacy of her personal life from the public eye. Our discussion on the case of Kayla Brown draws to a close. If you have found our investigative work informative, we kindly request your support through liking and subscribing to our channel for further thought-provoking true crime content. Your viewership is deeply valued. Until our next encounter, take care.